Hi, I'm Bill Doherty, and I want to welcome the viewers to another edition of Bill's Bullpen. Bill's Bullpen is a program that's intended to give people an idea of some of the things that are going on both in the town of Bourne and as well as the region. And with me today I have, geez, that sounds pretty pretentious, the Grand Knight,
right.
Matthew O'Brien from the Knights of Columbus.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure
Oh,
to be
you're
here,
welcome.
Bill.
Matthew, tell me a little bit about, yes, and this disclaimer, yes, I am a Knight of Columbus. Okay, so I feel as though I don't have to be recruited again.
That's right.
Okay, so what started the Knights of Columbus?
Well, in Bridgeport, Connecticut, Father McGivney in 1882 started it to help out Irish immigrants that were, so if a father got killed on the job or something happened to the dad, there was a group that helped to take care of the children and the wife, and so that's really that was the genesis of how the Knights of Columbus started, and it's evolved and grown to right now. Today, I think there's almost 2 million members, and we have many countries. It's not just in the United States, Canada, Mexico, Lithuania, Ukraine, Poland. So we've got quite a big, almost 2 million Knights. So.
Okay, 2 million people. Occasionally, when I've gone to mass, I guess it was up in New Hampshire. They had the Knights would show up, and they'd have the Napoleon hats and the capes and the swords.
Yep.
I went to a funeral down in Falmouth, and they were wearing berets and swords.
It's evolved. It changed which a lot of the older Knights were very proud to wear their old uniform. Mm-hmm. So a lot of them weren't happy with the change, but that's just
Okay, but what does the uniform signify? There must be a reason you're given as to why the uniform is important.
I think they wanted to make it. They wanted to simplify it and make it less ornate. I believe is what the reason for the change in to make the berets. But a lot of Knights that were proud to wear that uniform, you had to be a 4th degree Knight. Mm-hmm. And that takes a little bit of work, and and they were proud of it. So
let's talk about there are 4 degrees in the Knights of Columbus.
Right.
Tell me something about
the
first, second, and third.
Yeah, the first one is charity. It's the most important one. Charity. That's what the Knights are all about. And to first of all, originally to help out a family of a passed away father, and then now it's evolved into we do other things too. Like we're involved with the Ukraine today. The most current thing is the Ukraine Solidarity Fund is the official name, but
let's talk about that a little bit because that's topic A.
That's topic A right now. Yeah. So right now there's about 2,000 Knights in Poland. Mm-hmm. All right. No, 4,000. 4,000 Knights in Poland. 1,500 Knights in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. So right now it's set up where there's a welcome center in an undisclosed part of Poland that is loading up a truck, sending it to Lviv, which is the westernmost big city in Ukraine, and loading it up, dropping off humanitarian stuff, food, a lot of medical supplies, clothing, and toilet paper and everything else, basic needs. And heads back, reloads, and goes back. And also at this, they have it's like a welcome center in Poland. There's a few of them. They have tents set up all along the border, and the Polish Knights have really, got organized, and so it's doing well. And the Supreme, which is the headquarters of the Knights of Columbus, has sent $2 million so far, and
really?
and we've got more money coming every day. I mean, I just made a deposit today from our council, the Bourne Council, so we're going to be collecting quite a bit of money over the next week or two.
Okay, you said the Bourne Council, our council.
Our council.
Okay, what does our council represent?
Our council is the town of Bourne. So
Okay.
it's the St. John's Parish and the St. Margaret's Parish.
Okay.
And some people just from, Plymouth and everything are members as well. We have about 80, 90 members right now.
Okay.
And,
All right, so say,
so
the first
we're-
degree for charity.
Charity. That's the number one thing. So yeah, so then the second degree, I mean, the first degree is charity, unity is number two, number three, fraternity, and number four is all of those three plus patriotism. Those are the 4 degrees, and so you get your first 3 degrees, and then eventually you can get your 4th degree, and it's a big process to get the 4th degree. So
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So, but that's the the process of it. And in the U.S., there's about, I think, there's I want to say 14,000 councils in the world, but most of them are in the USA. So I want to say like 12,000 councils.
Okay, well, there's a lot of organizations that the people, let's see, don't appreciate that there's as many as there are. There are like 3,500 counties in the United States.
Right.
That many? Oh, yeah.
Right.
So 12,000 councils, tends to make some sense.
Right.
Now, the next question is that the Knights, with their with their founder's mission, which was to supply charity and support for people who were, through no fault of their own, up against it. What other principles are part of, let's say, what the Knights of Columbus are trying to do today, including how do you recruit new members? Right.
Yeah, they've always been trying to recruit new members, to growth. Part of, for me, why I joined was I just wanted to give back to the community, my faith community, my town, country, everything. So it's, and that's really what a lot of guys will say. And some folks come back to the church because they were brought up Catholic, and then they left, and then they come back, and now they have interest, so there's a lot.
That might describe me.
Yeah, no, hey, but that's not uncommon, so that's what I found. A lot of folks will just drift away in this past 30, 40 years, and then somehow or other in their upbringing and everything, they come back.
Now, one of the things that I found interesting, within the parish that we both belong to, is that there seems to be a lot of organizations that are offering things for women,
right?
But not very much for guys.
Right.
Okay. So, so the next question comes up for people: if you want to have, and that's what fraternity stands for.
Right.
Seems to be within the faith community a lot of things to support women, but not too much to support men. I know that Father Tom has initiated a program where we have discussion groups on Saturday mornings,
right.
An hour and a half, where we get together and discuss issues with regard to the responsibility for men to take a leadership role as Catholics.
Right.
And I noticed that quite a few of the people that go to that are part of the Knights of Columbus.
Right.
Okay, so, and there appears to be a good reason for that. So we've seen, and I think we talked about this off camera, that there's been a so-called evolution of thinking with regard to why do you belong to organizations.
Right.
A lot of our children with education, have sort of dismissed involvement in fraternity.
Well, it's not, you mentioned, I think it was an article I read in a magazine recently, an alumni magazine from our alma mater, that mentioned that younger
That's right.
folks.
You're one of the younger graduates of Boston College.
That's right. Yeah, there was the president of Notre Dame and the president of Boston College had a little conference about Catholic, education to the youth, the younger folks. Even the veterans come back. They don't join the veterans of foreign wars. They don't join the Elks. They're not joiners like the generations of the 50s and the 60s and the 70s even. And I'm not saying that to knock them. It's just they're going their own way. They're doing their own thing. They're not. You don't see as many of those Elks. Some of the Elks halls aren't around anymore. Some of them are thriving. But it's just they're not joining groups, church groups, social groups. Like they used to, and I think this created between the cell phone and the idea of not joining those groups, there's a loneliness out there. And I think some people are finding it back at their churches or their, coming back maybe to whatever group it may be. In our case, we get a lot of people that used to be Catholic, that used to be practicing Catholic, or were raised it, and they come back and come back to church. And so I think it's smart for the younger folks to think about, joining a group. And like in our group, we have there's other men's groups at our church, by the way, but they're just smaller groups that meet as well during the week. But our group is that group that man is you has been very successful around the country, and it's growing like crazy. And a lot of it is, some of it is anyway, getting some of the younger folks. But it's geared towards, as you know, that group that we're in Saturday morning is geared towards the younger people, but there's mostly older people at it. But it's still, if this going to church, joining the Knights of Columbus, you're meeting people. You're getting, talking about getting stuff, getting together and doing things like this Ukrainian relief program, or the Tootsie Roll Drive, which is for children with intellectual disabilities. I mean, that's the official name for it. You have to write it down because we always call it Tootsie Roll Drive, right? There are a lot of folks, have you seen Knights of Columbus in front of a store or in front of a church, giving out Tootsie Rolls. It's the official name is Campaign for People with Intellectual Disabilities. And the Knights have been big on that for years, big on the Special Olympics. It's just it's a way of giving back. It's a way to, it's being a Knight, you're contributing, helping society. You're helping kids with intellectual disabilities. You're helping people in the Ukraine. We do a lot of car washes. Whenever there's a hurricane or a big event, we have a car wash at one of the firehouses or at the churches. And from Katrina, Ida, the tidal wave there in it was in Philippines and in Indonesia. We sent a ton of money. Yeah, it was tsunami. Yeah, so we sent a lot of money out for that too. And the thing is too, the way is, when you get one of your degrees, you I think it's the second degree. The person running the meeting will take a string and snap it, and then he'll take a rope. Now a rope has got a million different strings depending on how. Then you push it. You can't snap it. You can't break it. I'm just one. You and I are just one string, and that rope. So we make that. We make it a solid. We're connecting the, however you want to put it, the church with the people, or however we're part of that rope.
Which brings up the point that part of the mission of the Knights of Columbus is to support the proselytizing,
Right.
the bringing people, into the church.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Even now, it's even more important than ever to do that, because it's, we're not. You don't hear much in the media about churches anymore. It's for some news channels it might be taboo, but it's something that needs to be talked about.
As we talk about it now, and you talked about the unity and the strength of many strands together,
Right.
make up a rope. Being together with a unified purpose is the best opportunity for success.
Right.
And that actually is one of the principles of psychological warfare operations, where you identify a particular goal that people find acceptable,
Right.
and you work your programs and your propaganda around that.
Right.
Okay. As we talked about unity as the second degree. What is the third degree?
Charity and fraternity. So you're part of a fraternity. Is that's like part of, like you said, being together. You help out each other when in need. If we have one family who is the past Grand Knight, Rich Manduca. His family has all his children and his wife have brittle bone disease, osteogenesis imperfecta.
Yeah.
So we've had some fundraisers for them. I mean, for osteogenesis imperfecta research, and it was quite an amazing thing. We're gonna have a fundraiser in May for them too, for osteogenesis imperfecta. It's and they've been on TV. There's different types, and it's really the body doesn't rejects the collagen, so collagen just doesn't work. They can drink all the collagen, they won't. It just doesn't work. So that's why the bones are brittle. There's no collagen. It affects not just their bones, but their organs, tendons, everything.
Okay. Now, part of the fundraising activities, I know that St. Vincent de Paul recently moved from downtown Buzzards Bay to what used to be
our hall.
Your hall.
Yeah.
Okay, now,
so
what did they have in that hall before? Because
that was our hall. That was our hall. That's where we had meetings there, and we had, there was also, and we would have functions and events there as well. Now that we talk about St. Vincent de Paul, I mean, they're great with local charity, and a lot of people know that they do a lot in the town. There's one, there's a unit of St. Vincent de Paul at St. John's, and there's one at St. Margaret's.
Well,
they're using our hall. But let me just say this: so if you go into our hall now, you'll see St. Vincent de Paul's product. They have all kinds of stuff. Any book readers, there's probably 2,000 books there, and they sell them for $1. I mean, all nice new books, and guess what? That goes to the community. That helps. They do a lot for people in need locally. So they're very, very.
Well, I'm pointing that up is that, let's say, as interaction among groups. In other words, this is the Knights of Columbus are not a silo.
No,
okay,
no.
They are
We're
more
happy
of
to
a
work
barn.
Right. So, for instance, we did a fundraiser for Coats for Kids, and we really funnel it for the most part, through St. Vincent de Paul, because they know a lot of the people that are in need in the town of Bourne and surrounding areas.
Well, I point that out because people wonder, if they participate in any kind of a fundraiser, what's the conduit to get it to people in need? And you've already pointed out that you're using the Polish Knights to get the money that you're raising for the Ukrainian staples, because I think that was in both the Globe and the New York Times that they're running out of staples right now.
Right. Oh no, they don't have electricity in a lot of where they're getting bombed and everything. So it's a fluid situation. Well, what's going to be like in a month is going to be. I mean, there's close to well over 1 million refugees going to Poland. Poland seems to be the place that they most want to go.
Well, yeah, I think they've been the most open to to accepting them.
Right.
And of course, if you go back in history, the Soviets, starting with Stalin, I think it was in the early 1930s, he systematically starved 7 to 10 million of them, in that period.
Okay.
And basically took all of their, because they're the breadbasket,
Right. A lot of wheat there.
A lot of wheat and a lot of natural resources.
Right.
Basically took all of those to support the factory workers in his 5-year plans.
Right.
So there's always been, let's say, that disconnect between the goals of the Soviet and now the Russians and the Ukrainians.
Right.
Okay, so there's that. So it's very interesting, the way things are playing out. But the most important thing is, and it's in, it is a recurring theme in the Bible as well, charity. If you do not have charity, you don't have anything. And charity and love, are basically the same thing.
Right.
Now, what are some of the activities that you're doing? You talked about wanting to recruit more members.
Right.
What are some of the ways that somebody who might be interested in becoming a knight, could they find out more about it and get involved?
Well, they can. First of all, sometimes when we have say a Tootsie Roll drive, or we're doing collections for whatever, like we did, we've done in the past. We'll ask somebody if they wanted to become a knight, as they're leaving church, or when we're doing a collection. We do, every year we go outside a supermarket and we do a Tootsie Roll drive there. We always just ask, or just if anybody's interested, they can contact us. So.
Well, do you do a PSA on, you're on cable television now. Right. Do you have a PSA on cable television that says the Knights are meeting on such and such a day? Or?
Yeah. So we have on the 4th Tuesday of the month, we have a meeting that's open, and it's at St. Margaret's, and currently St. Margaret's at 7:30. So the 4th Tuesday of the month at 7:30. Happy to have you. It's an open meeting, and can tell you about the Knights, and you can ask any questions you like.
Yes, and they did. Although I tend to be kind of a pain in the ass when I start asking questions, and been told more than once, sit down and shut up, but usually when organizations are open, to getting more members, they welcome questions, because that's a demonstration of interest, and involvement. Now, in some jurisdictions, the Knights, the Knights have a social focus. They have a bar.
Right.
Okay. Now, the parish I belong to up in New Hampshire, Father Gagnon said, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. So he closed it. They had an operation. He said, because they're spending too much time, on the social part and not enough on the mission part.
Yep.
Now, what's wrong with having a place where people?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it, like in our group, there was just at our hall we had we had beer and everything. But you know what? we ended up giving it away because no one was drinking it. So it's just that's not what we're doing here. I know.
Irish immigrants and the children of same
I know.
Not drinking a beer.
Not so much, I guess.
Matt, we went to BC.
I know.
It's kind of hard to believe.
And we used to have the day after St. Patrick's Day off. We didn't have to have class, so it changed. But we
No, it wasn't St. Patrick's Day. It was the evacuation day.
I know.
Where were you? Did you grow up in Boston?
No.
See, that's why.
No, but I knew that. But the thing about it is that at BC, it didn't. Evacuations, they didn't.
And you also know that when Knox dragged the cannons up to Breed's Hill, to drive the British out of Boston, what was the password? It was St. Patrick. You can put that in your trivia trove.
All right, I
Okay,
will.
well,
I will.
these things tend to go pretty quickly, and the one concern that I have is that there are a lot of organizations that are out there, and they all have what on the surface appear to be similar missions. I've always known that, that the Knights have a very specific mission of charity and also proselytizing.
Right.
Okay. And I think it's important for people, people to know that the Knights have that, but they also are an all-male organization
Right.
in a time when we're seeing more integration of men and women in organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any comments on that?
Well, it's like anything, though. Sometimes it's good to have women like to have women's groups. I think so. Like you said, there weren't that many, not that many men's groups.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's good to, talk about how you can be a better man. And we do that. We have that. We have our own little discussions about that. And in that group that we're in, that's what our focus.
Okay.
And on Saturday mornings is how to be a better man. So I think that there's a lot of this. Yeah, in this world, people, a lot of people just want to that we're all together. There's nothing wrong with. There's groups that are you can do stuff together also, and that's no problem. And we also welcome help and discussion with women. When we do a fundraiser, we love help from
Well, I noticed at the meeting that I went to, there were several couples there.
Yep.
Okay, and
Yep.
and the women.
At the last meeting that we had, and this is unusual, but Donna spoke, Donna Struzeri.
Yeah.
And she was very good.
Okay,
So,
well,
yeah.
I bring this up so by way of saying that women are welcome to come to these meetings
Now they are.
and participate.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
now's your chance to give, what is the takeaway you want people to have from this program?
Well, takeaway is, again, getting back to the original thing is charity, charity, charity. We're an organization that you can give back to your community, give back to your church. You can do. We're mobilizing for this Ukraine relief. There's a tremendous need right now, and it's immediate. So we're being very active with it. And you might see canisters around the stores in Bourne for fundraising as well. And if you do, you can throw 50 cents or $1 in there. That'd be great. It's going to get sent over to the Ukraine. It's going to be used very quickly. The turnaround time is going to be quick. So we're going to make deposits every day. We're going to get money to the people that are in dire need in Ukraine. Everybody sees it on CNN and whatever channel you watch of what's going on, and there's a definite need, and it's definitely a horrible situation. So, and prayers are
important.
Important too for these folks in the Ukraine.
So with that, I want to remind people that the Knights meet on the fourth Tuesday of every month at St. Margaret's in Buzzards Bay, and all are welcome.
Right.
And we encourage, especially people who might be lonely and thinking that they want to reconnect with the things that were important as they were growing up. This is one of the opportunities to do that. So with that, I want to thank Matt O'Brien, the Grand Knight of the local council, and I want to thank the viewers for spending some time with us to find out more about the Knights. And with that, you've been watching Bill's Bullpen, a production of Bourne TV.